great Renaissance men, such as Lorenzo de' Medici of Florence, made history because they revived ancient ideals in a medieval world. The ideal to compete in all of life's activities, the ambition to excel. It was lost with the fall of Rome and rediscovered by the Renaissance, which literally means rebirth. Rebirth of classic Greek philosophy, the pursuit of excellence in life and art. Rebirth of Roman regard for strength, the concept of man as creator of his own destiny. The Renaissance renewed humanism in a Christianized world. It restored man's belief in himself, yet remained devoted to a faith larger than self. Religion had been the medieval way of life, and for 1,000 years, art disregarded man to glorify Christian revelations. If man appeared in medieval paintings at all, it was merely to acknowledge his donation. Here the Christ child is blessing a monk, who happens to be the donor of this work. What a lowly, insignificant figure. In the 14th century, proportions are still deliberately distorted. Human figures appear in miniature size to indicate deep humility in the presence of divinity. In the 15th century, Jean Fouquet renders the donor on the left and the saint accurately. Man was realizing his own worth. Now that the donor image was portrayed realistically, a new category of art developed. The individual portrait, first created by Flemish painters. Eyes are lifted to the heavens. They are downcast in pious introspection, or intently focused on a holy image. Hands reverently express devotion. Facial features are lovingly portrayed, but with strangely remote expressions. Thoughts are directed inwardly. These men and women have not yet awakened to the joy of life on earth. The real-life devotion of adults and children is evident in art. Now that man and his occupations have become interesting, saints are shown in human attitudes. Patris Christus presents Saint Eligius as a goldsmith at work, being visited by a young couple. And this is a real-life couple exchanging marriage vows. The dog is a symbol of loyalty. The cast-off shoes indicate the standing on holy ground. Jan van Eyck's faithful description of this wedding reveals a new, expressive realism of style. Here he explores every facial characteristic with minute accuracy. The result is a lifelike character study. Man no longer appears insignificant. He no longer searches his soul. The uniqueness of each personality is discovered in art. Hans Memling shows a goldsmith. He's not holding a religious object, but one of his own works. His self-assurance expresses a new, active concept of life. The history of the Italian Renaissance is seen in portraiture, its major creation. Early portraits were rendered in rigid poses which symbolized the revival of ancient ideals. The strict profile view was inspired by ancient art. The young man is attributed to Masaccio, who pioneered the search for visual perfection. In his famous fresco, The Trinity, he created three-dimensional painting. Figures are no longer stylized and imaginary. They appear in lifelike form. They are given volume and contour. They are carried out in striking perspective. In pursuit of realism, scientific rules were formulated. Domenico Veneziano's geometric architecture emphasizes the natural attitude of the figures. The sun casts a visible shadow, indicating a new awareness of daylight qualities. Mastering light and color, Domenico enhances his profile portrait by placing it against a soft, complementing sky. A solid arrangement of form, defined by light and perspective, was pioneered by Piero della Francesca. This artist also created highly original works which expressed his individuality. In his double portrait, the images of the Duke and Duchess of Urbino merge with the distant landscape. The face of the Duke, though seen in profile, stands out with an uncompromising realism. Domenico Ghirlandaio transcends realism and adds warmth and affection. Sandro Botticelli creates graceful, often idealized images. Profile views no longer predominate. Sitters begin to face us. Man is placed into the center of the universe. High Renaissance ideals are emerging. Hands are holding a professional emblem and a book. For the first time, printed on a press, books and more books. To spread knowledge, learning becomes all important. Eyes are inquisitive and searching. Facial expressions reveal a new self-assurance. The typical Renaissance man looks at the world calmly and sometimes with arrogance. In his quest for fame and glory, he could be ambitious, diplomatic, ruthless. Concerned with outward appearance, he admired sophistication and refined manners. And newly idealized was the beauty of the human face and figure, as brilliantly revealed by Raphael. He recorded facial features with honesty and still ennobled his subject with a commanding dignity. Here, he keenly observed Pope Leo X, his and Michelangelo's extravagant patron. Admired above all was the humanist, a scholar of antiquity, and the universal man, a man of all-round competence in many fields. Inspired by the ancient past, humanists excavated ruins and collected classical works of art. Prince Pio of Capri was a humanist and a universal man, philosopher, statesman, theologian, poet, art patron, and benefactor of learning. Learning was based on Latin literature and philosophy. Writers spread the ideal of reviving the classics throughout Europe. The study of the humanities was to provide knowledge and to build character. This is the poet Cardinal Bembo, painted by Titian, master of portraiture. Exploring the human personality, he rendered with equal skill the ideal of feminine beauty, the character of age, the charm and innocence of youth. The Renaissance excelled in men of genius. Above all, its lofty ideals were personified by Leonardo and Michelangelo. Michelangelo declared that the true object of art was man. Not a faithful likeness of man as given in portraiture, but the drama of huge, freely moving figures created in the mind of the artist. He brought forth a race of giants in his masterworks of painting, the famous frescoes in the Sistine Chapel. Called the divine Michelangelo by his contemporaries, he was forever searching, restless and tormented, lonely but dedicated. To this day, the symbol of artistic genius. Walking past Leonardo's Mona Lisa, her eyes follow us. Her expression changes as the view changes, like the face of a living person. Leonardo wrote, "Paint the face to show what is going on in the mind, but the beauty he created is elusive and mysterious." Leonardo da Vinci is seen in his only self-portrait on the left. 6,000 pages of notebooks reveal the seemingly unlimited scope of his universal genius. But he regarded painting as the most sublime of human efforts. He made exhaustive studies for each work he planned. Whatever occupied his insatiably curious mind, he was constantly drawing, exploring the natural sciences, and in particular, anatomy, to perfect his art. In the same year, Leonardo completed the Mona Lisa. Martin Luther entered a monastery. The Reformation which followed brought troubled times to Northern Europe. Yet humanism spread. Influenced by high Renaissance ideals, Mabuse adopts the concept of man as master of his own life. Albrecht Dürer, pioneer of the Northern Renaissance, conceives man as creator in a series of searching self-portraits. Fusing German art with classic Italian ideals, he shared Leonardo's passion to investigate anatomical proportions of face and figure. Above the likeness of Maximilian I, an inscription is added. It enumerates the emperor's accomplishments. Its Latin language also discloses Dürer's own humanistic knowledge. What a revealing Renaissance innovation. Gone is the humility of medieval times, when anonymous painters served the greater glory of God. Now, sitters and artists are prominently identified to achieve immortality. The German Hans Holbein masterly captured the essence of a character. In a simply drawn likeness of his own family, or in the dignified appearance of a wealthy merchant. His fame prompted Erasmus of Rotterdam, great leader of humanism, to recommend Holbein to England. Here he portrayed the young Prince of Wales, the only son of his royal patron, Henry VIII. The Latin inscription reads, "Heaven and earth could hardly produce a son to surpass in glory such a father." Yes, Holbein captured Henry's glory. He also revealed a ruthlessly arrogant, commanding personality. The elaborate gown and jewelry were designed by Holbein. Their splendor brings to mind Jean Clouet's painting of Francis I, benefactor of the aging Leonardo da Vinci. This talented king of France, one of Europe's noted Renaissance rulers, spent a fortune on art and war, against his sometimes friend Henry VIII, and more often against Charles V. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, mighty ruler of vast territories, stooped to recover a brush Titian dropped painting this portrait. In the Renaissance world, emperors paid respect to the artist. The Renaissance. It began with the rebirth of ancient philosophies in a medieval world. It ended with the birth of our modern way of life. Born was the ideal of progress and economic prosperity. The pursuit of knowledge in ever-expanding fields of activities. Born was a new freedom of mind. By discovering themselves, Renaissance men and women newly discovered the world. In a few centuries, Western man had experienced a profound transformation. From the rejection of his own self to a gradual awakening and to full recognition of his active destiny in life. It was a change of historical significance. Renaissance artists, in creating portraiture, recorded history itself.